Welcome to Shooting Straight. I'm your host, Ken Buck. In today's highly partisan environment, political adversaries often minimize each other's arguments by labeling motives rather than engaging in constructive dialogue. For the next 30 minutes, I invite you to join me as we cut through the political noise and learn about what inspires our guest and how his life experiences have led to positive transformations in his community. Today, we will look at how faith-based programs are succeeding where government has failed. It is my pleasure to welcome Pastor Corey Brooks to the show. Are you ready to start shooting straight?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good. Pastor Brooks, I knew you before I knew you. Before we met, I had read about this crazy guy in Chicago who sat on a rooftop to make a point. What was that point?
So in Chicago, as you well know, so much violence was going on at the time, and people were dealing with so many situations where their relatives have been shot and killed. And I just decided that I could no longer wait on government to solve the issue and do something about it. So I decided to go up on the roof of a motel, and that was known for being drug infested, known for prostitution, known for being the headquarters of one of the gangs. And I decided to go on the roof of that hotel and take it over to bring attention and awareness to the violence that was going on in our neighborhood, because I wanted something to be done, and I wanted it to be done. I wanted it to be done like right now.
In what time frame was this?
So I went up on the roof 2011, November of 20th, 2011, and I stayed there to 2012, February 24th, 94 days in the winter of Chicago of all times.
I was going to ask you, what is going on? That's not we're not talking Miami. We're talking Chicago.
I wish it had been Miami. Yeah, it was Chicago. It was brutal winter, and it was really tough, but it was worth it. The cause was worth it. Bringing attention was worth it. Helping to save lives was worth it. So I was determined to stay there as long as it was going to take.
You tried to talk to folks in government?
Yeah, we were in the neighborhood. Our church was right across the street. So we had been protesting that motel for summers. We had been bringing attention to it. We had called police numerous of times. We had called downtown to try to get the hotel citations, but none of that worked. They were still active. They were still making money. They were still investing, I believe, in crime in the neighborhood. And so something needed to be done. And even though the government the city government was not going to do anything about it, we just decided we're going to do something about it.
And this is the south side of Chicago.
It's the south side of Chicago. It's the place where in 2012, the Chicago Sun-Times wrote an article that said it was the most dangerous neighborhood in Chicago. So that's the neighborhood that we're in on the south side of Chicago. It's a tough neighborhood, and it's a neighborhood that at that time was in need of a lot of love and a lot of work.
High murder rate.
High murder rate. 2012 said Chicago Sun-Times, the toughest neighborhood in Chicago was that neighborhood right there where we were. They called it at that time O Block. O Block being named after one of the gang members, O.D. Perry, who was shot and killed. They took the O and made it O Block. And so it was a tough neighborhood, a lot of murder, a lot of crime, a lot of theft. It was a very brutal place.
What made you locate your church in that neighborhood? There were a lot of other places that needed Jesus. What made you locate your church there?
Well, I always believe God says his best to his worst. And so I said, if I'm gifted as God has gifted me to be, and I really want to help as many people as I possibly can, I could have easily gone to the suburbs and gone to a nice, pristine place, but I decided that God was calling me to an area that really needed a lot of love, a lot of grace. And I figured since God had given me so much grace and loved me so much, then I need to go to a neighborhood that needed me. And so we took our ministry to a tough neighborhood.
Let's talk about God's love for you. Tell me about your childhood.
Well, I was born in a little big town called Union City, Tennessee. My family lived in Kenton, Tennessee. It's about 2,000 population at that time. It's the home of what we call the white squirrel. It's one of the few places in America that has a white squirrel. I didn't even know squirrels were other colors when I was a teenager. I got a teenager. But I lived in that little town of Kenton, Tennessee with a lot of relatives, a lot of cousins, uncles, aunts. And I was there.
Did you live with your mom, dad?
I lived with my mom and my grandparents. My mom was a single parent. She had me when she was 19, and so we lived with my grandparents.
Did you ever know your dad?
I did know my dad. We didn't have a great relationship. I saw him probably 5 times all of my life. He's deceased and passed away now. But I had some great grandparents and great uncles, and they did a good job at helping my mom to do all she could possibly do until she moved away and got married, and then I was able to go stay with her. But
And
life
where
with
was
my
that?
grandparents were great. We moved from Kenton, Tennessee, and then my mom moved to Muncie, Indiana, Middletown, USA, they called it back then. So Muncie became the place where I grew up, and my mom was married to my stepdad, and that's the place where I was nurtured and started to really learn about life and learn about myself. And I thank God for my experience in Muncie. It was an awesome place to grow up.
So, who had a big influence on your life when you moved to Muncie, Indiana?
So, moving from Kenton, Tennessee to Muncie, Indiana was big for me. I mean, you go from a town of 2,000 to 80,000 or 90,000, somewhere in between there. And not only that, but moving from a town where you know everyone, the neighbors, the cousins, and to a town where you don't know anyone was really tough. And so I had a tough transition. And so going into the 4th, 5th, and 6th grades, my 4th grade year, I was a really bad kid, always getting in trouble. But I had 3 teachers, Joe Stokes, Anita Hadley, and Dennis Bigler, who were my teachers all the way through 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And those teachers helped me to become a pretty good student. It helped me to get on the right track, especially Joe Stokes, who I still have a relationship with to this day. He did a great job, and he stayed with me and encouraged me, mentored me, worked with me, and I believe he kind of understood the situation I was in. My stepfather was not a great stepfather, and so it was a tough transition, and I think he just had a lot of love in his heart, and he displayed that. I later found out, I didn't know that he was a Christian, and I later found that out, and I think that love, he just expressed it to me, and it helped me so much.
You expressed a little frustration earlier with the government not doing something about this crack house that was near your church on the south side of Chicago. Was Joe Stokes, Anita Hadley, were these people that influenced your life, were they part of a government program? Were they just good teachers that cared about you and went above and beyond to help a student that had some issues?
They were just great teachers. They didn't get any extra funding for helping after school, for coaching the basketball team or the baseball team in the summer. They were just people who loved children and who took an interest in my life, and I'm thankful for it. They didn't depend on some government program to urge them to help me. And because of that, I would like to believe that I am who I am today.
You lived with your grandparents initially. What influence did they have on you in terms of the work ethic that you have now, the desire to make a change?
Well, I think my grandmother taught me how to just be loving and compassionate. She loved everybody, regardless of their background, regardless of how much trouble, including my mom. Watching her love my mom through being a teenage mother and helping her develop into a woman, I was able to see that as a little boy. But more so, my grandfather showed me work ethic. He worked hard every single day. He had his own little lawn business, and I can remember him pushing lawnmowers and riding a lawnmower, and he did it himself, and he cut yards and cut grass and did all the things that he could possibly do to earn a living, and he did really well for our family. And so I learned to work hard at a very early age.
And you were an athlete.
I was an athlete, pretty good athlete, I would like to think, like yourself. I didn't play football, though. I played basketball. And I think some of the things I learned as an athlete, working with people, working as a team, having goals, working hard, I think those principles still are alive in me today.
What kind of kid were you?
I wasn't that great a kid. I wasn't. I had I tell people I have 2 personalities. I had the personality where I was the nice, outgoing, extrovert that everybody loved. But then I had this other side to where I was like a party animal, and I just, at a young age, I started partying really hard. Probably my freshman year of high school when I played varsity sports, and I thought I was really probably prideful and arrogant as a freshman playing senior sports. So I think that led into a life of just partying as much as I possibly could, and in what I thought was enjoying life at the time.
And what did your mom do to help you during that time frame?
So again, love and compassion that I think my grandmother showed my mom, she showed it to me as well. I can remember distinctively coming in the house late at night on weekends, drunk, after drinking beers with the guys. And I can remember my mom not scolding me, but every night she would just put her hands on my head and pray for me. I can just remember her.
Were you awake?
I was awake, but I would play sleep. I didn't. Because I thought if I were awake, if she knew I was awake, she would pray even longer. So I said, let me just play like I'm sleeping. Maybe she'll stop. But she would pray for me and love me through those situations. And I tell my kids, my mom used to make me go to church. If I came in at 8:30. On a Sunday morning from staying all night at someone's house or whatever, 9 o'clock, I better be at Sunday school. No ifs, ands, about it. You have to be at Sunday school. And so I would go to Sunday school at 9 o'clock. Then after 9 o'clock, Sunday school, 11 o'clock, we'd be at church. Then from 11 to 1 or 1:30 or 2, depending, it's a black church, so we go a little long. And then you get a little break for dinner. Then 3:30, you have an afternoon service. So you got to go to the afternoon service. Then after 3:30, you got to come back for what they call BTU at 6 o'clock, which was Bible Training Union. So Sundays was all day church. It was just, I don't care what you're doing, it's all day church. And so I can remember having, my mom threatened to call my basketball coach because we had some AAU games on Sunday. She just was not going for it. So I can remember setting out quite a few AAU games on Sundays because you had to go to church.
So it sounds like it may have been punishment at the time, but it had an influence on you.
Oh, definitely.
And what kind of influence?
I think those seeds that were planted turned out to be the most positive seeds she could have planted in my life.
And what did those seeds grow into? I've just heard about work ethic, and I've heard about a heart for the community. What did that faith and influence from teachers and grandparents and community have on Pastor Brooks?
Well, first of all, it led to my relationship with Jesus Christ. Those seeds that she planted led me to a point to where I was able to accept Jesus on my own. Without her prompting me, without her urging or pushing me. That's the most important thing that's ever happened, my relationship with Jesus. And then secondly, I think the faith that grew out of that experience, that communicated itself into helping people and loving people and being gracious to people. I think all of those things were born out of those experiences.
So you have a church on the south side of Chicago, right?
In the hood, we call it the hood.
I'm not going to go there, but okay. On the south side of Chicago, and you are you see these problems around you at this point in time. You sit on a church, or you sit on a
hotel,
the building, an abandoned hotel building.
Right.
You raise $550,000.
Correct.
And then you come down alive in one piece, a little cold, but alive in one piece.
Yes.
And at some point you see the other things that are happening, and you say to yourself, I've got to do more. I've got to have more than just a church. I've got to do more than just talk to people about Jesus and the love of Christ. What do you do? Tell me about the programs that you develop.
So while I'm on that roof, I'm thinking about what can I do to transform this community. I've been in this neighborhood and it's been ugly so far. I want to do something about it. I don't want to wait on government officials to try to get them to solve my problems. What can I do? So I really started to look at 4 areas. Our educational area, we were having problems. Our economic area, there's no entrepreneurs, no businesses in the community. The social problems, we have one of the highest rates of single parent households in the area. So I knew that we need to do something with families. And then spiritual people are just lost. And so we tried to come up with a program. We created a non-for-profit called Project H.O.O.D. Since we're in the hood, we're going to create Project H.O.O.D. But our hood stands for? Exactly. But I wanted to take something negative in some people's eyes and put something positive on it. So we made H.O.O.D an acronym for helping others obtain destiny. And that's what we do. We try to take the lives of people and shape them and mold them and give them all the tools and resources that they need so they can get back on the right track, so they can achieve their destiny in life, their purpose in life. So we create these programs.
What kind of programs?
Yes, we have construction programs for individuals who are interested in the trades. We have electrical programs. We have a culinary arts program. We have, for those who want to be entrepreneurs, we have an entrepreneurship program where they can learn to start a business, landscaping programs. Any program that we believe that will enhance the lives of individuals, that's what we're going to do. And we do it without the assistance of government. We do it without the help of politicians. We really do believe that the power is in our hands to help transform lives. And so we go as hard as we possibly can, and we love as hard as we possibly can, and we show as much as grace as we possibly can to try to get people to transform, and it happens.
So you just said you do it without government help.
Yeah.
Who helps?
So we have some great supporters. We have individual donors. We have corporate sponsors who come for the long term.
Are they all in the neighborhood?
No, most of our corporate sponsors are not in our neighborhood. I wish they were in our neighborhood.
But they have a heart for your
neighborhood. They have a heart for our neighborhood, and they understand that people need an opportunity, that a lot of times these individuals in our neighborhood, the reason why they're going the direction that they're going is because they just haven't had opportunities. They haven't had options. They haven't had alternatives. And when corporations come alongside and partner with non-for-profits like ours, we can create those opportunities. We can create an option for an individual to possibly get their life on track. And so we have some great donors, and we have great corporate sponsors who come alongside of us, not just for the short term, but we want corporate sponsors and donors for the long term, because transforming a community and transforming a life is not something that you can do overnight. It takes some time. It takes plowing up the ground. It takes planting the seed. It takes watering the seed. It takes the sun to shine. It takes all of that stuff to be nurtured and developed before you ever even start to see a little growth.
And those businesses, those corporations, those individuals are willing to work with you year in, year out to see that growth in your community.
Absolutely.
And is this just for young men?
No, we're really excited because we're starting a class, an electrician's class for all females, because we realize in our neighborhood, we have to get the whole family on track. So we work with men, we work with women, we work with children, we work with the younger and the old, because it's a necessity if we're going to bring about transformation. You can't bring about transformation in a neighborhood just working with one group of people.
So you've seen change in your neighborhood. Any individual stories that have really impacted you?
I have seen change. We've gone from what Chicago Sun-Times said in 2012 as the worst neighborhood in Chicago to being one of the better neighborhoods as far as murder and shootings are concerned. We've done a great work, and part of that is because we work with individuals like a young man named Jonathan, whose 6-month-old baby was shot and killed while he was playing with her in a car. He was waiting to get ready to take her to the daycare, and a gunman shot his car, and in the process shot the baby. And that was one of the most traumatic things that I've ever witnessed in all of my life.
When you say witness, were you there? Did you see him afterwards? How were you involved?
So immediately after the shooting, I get a call. Hey, pastor, we need you at the hospital. Someone's baby got shot in the neighborhood. I go to the hospital. I meet Jonathan. I meet the baby's mother, and they're broken. I mean, it's hard to explain, but to see the trauma and the hurt and the pain on two parents in their eyes as they had to watch their baby, and then to be escorted by the doctors and the nurse into the hospital room and have to see that baby and that baby's body being ravished by bullets is probably something I never, ever, ever want to see again, nor would I ever wish that even on the person who was probably my worst enemy. I would never want anyone to experience that. So having to walk Jonathan through that and his family through that, and then later on even having to do the funeral and provide counseling, and that's very tough. But Jonathan, thankfully, we've stayed with him and we are helping him through counseling. We've helped him through trying to get his GED. He didn't graduate from high school. We've even given him a job.
I was going to ask you, who was Jonathan before the shooting?
So Jonathan before the shooting was a known, and these are words that he says. So he was a known drug dealer in our neighborhood. He was a known gangbanger in our neighborhood. Matter of fact, he helped to start one of the gangs in our neighborhood. So he was very well known, and so he was targeted without a doubt. But after that shooting, I think that was the opportunity for me to help get him on track. And so I took advantage of that opportunity, and we've been working with him ever since that time. And there's been ups and downs, but right now we're on the up, and we hope that it continues to go up. But we're trying to get his GED. He's going to get his GED, and hopefully he'll graduate and get a GED, because he didn't know how to read at all once he first started. And he didn't have a job, so we provide for him a job. And matter of fact, he works for our violence impact team, which is responsible. We have 12 individuals, all of them primarily from different gangs, who help us to work with individuals in our neighborhood to get them in our programs and to de-escalate any type of retaliation or shootings that may happen in our neighborhood, to intervene. And so he does that, and he's doing a great job. He's really good at knowing all the players involved and going out and talking to them and trying to get them to say, hey, I've been there. Here's some different opportunities. Here's an alternative. And so he's probably one of our best recruiters for our program.
I want to talk to you about another subject. In recently, June of 2020, there were riots across America.
Yeah.
And there were riots in Chicago.
Yeah.
Where did those riots start in Chicago?
So the riots in Chicago, like most of the places across America, they started out downtown, and they were from a lot of people who, some from Chicago, some not from Chicago, but the Magnificent Mile experienced a lot of rioting.
Where is the Magnificent Mile?
In Chicago, the Magnificent Mile is the sales district, the high-end sales district. It's the area in Chicago that is the engine, the money engine. You have the Gucci stores, the Prada stores, and you have Neiman Market. All these great stores.
Places where I would typically see you if I was going to be in Chicago. We both be there,
I'm
right?
on a budget. Yeah. So, but yeah, these
maybe
are Chicago's
Cub games.
Yeah, Cub. Yeah.
Okay.
These are some great stores and great places downtown, and unfortunately, that's where a lot of the rioting took place, and a lot of the looting of the stores took place as well.
Did the city officials react to the rioting in that area?
Oh, definitely.
And what did they
do? So the city officials in our area, when that happened, they sprung into action and they locked everything downtown down.
What does that mean?
That means that you could not get off exits to go downtown. Unless you live downtown, you couldn't get downtown. They cut it off so that people could not riot and loot those stores. And as a result, it was good for the businesses, but it was bad for our neighborhoods, because what happened as they locked the downtown all the way down, they forgot about safeguarding the neighborhoods.
Did they forget, or did they not care as much?
I would say they didn't care as much. I would say it was intentional. Let them go off into other places. And so what happened, they definitely went off into other places, and those other places happen to be neighborhoods like the one that I live in, the one where I serve in, and they looted stores. You would not believe the chaos and the looting that was done in these stores. And a lot, especially with like pharmaceutical stores like Walgreens and CVS's,
I was going to ask
grocery
you, what
stores.
impact did it have on the people in your neighborhood, the riots that occurred?
Yeah. So when you loot these stores in our neighborhood, we already have a deficit because there's not a lot of stores anyway. So that's one of the reasons why we start Project H.O.O.D, because the economic situation. So you already have stores that don't exist, but the ones who do exist, like the grocery stores or the Walgreens, then they looted those. So now we don't have places where we can get groceries. We don't have places where we can get our prescriptions filled. It becomes a horrible situation, especially for seniors, because now these seniors who depended on this Walgreens in their neighborhood, some having to walk, some having to catch the bus. One, they don't want to come out because they feel like it's too dangerous already. Now they can't even go to the Walgreens to get their prescriptions. It becomes a dangerous situation.
So the city government pushed the rioters away from the economic center,
yes,
the place where they get their tax revenue from,
yes,
into poorer neighborhoods.
Yes.
What did they do when these poorer neighborhoods were destroyed by the rioters?
They did nothing. I mean, they let them destroy it. I mean, I know of a business owner who is a very close friend of mine who just, the police actually watched, and when asked, they said they were told, stand down. You know, these are good officers. These are officers that I know they would have done something in Chicago had they had the opportunity, but they were told to stand down. And as a result of standing down, all of these stores in our neighborhoods were looted. And
did the city come in and provide transportation to the suburbs to get prescriptions, to get groceries?
No, they did not. And that's where we came in, because I truly believe that you cannot wait on government to solve problems. When you have problems in your neighborhood, you have to take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and you have to go at it. So we decided to provide transportation to people who needed to go to grocery stores or who needed to go get their prescriptions filled. So we would call Walgreens and other pharmacies in other areas, suburban areas that didn't have these problems, and we would order people's medicine and we would go pick it up or take them to go pick it up. And then we did that for at least a month until things were stabilized and until we got things back in order. But even to this day, there are still drugstores in our area that were vital to our neighborhood that are not open.
Is there a role for the police in a neighborhood like yours in Chicago?
Oh, absolutely. We have to have police, and for the most part, we have great police. But like every profession, there's always a few bad apples. I'm a pastor, and I'll be the first to tell you that there are some great, wonderful pastors, but there are also some horrible pastors. You're a politician. There are some great politicians, but there are also some bad ones. And it's the same way with police officers. There are no perfect departments or perfect people. We're all imperfect. And so, but for the most part in Chicago, we have officers who work hard, who mean well, who are doing the best that they can possibly do. So we definitely need them in our neighborhood.
What kind of day-to-day impact does it have on a young person who's trying to go to school, a person who's trying to get to their job, a store owner? Yeah. What impact do the police have? What impact does the rule of law have in a neighborhood that is all too often lawless?
Yeah, so we need the law. We need police officers. Anytime that you have situations, for instance, just last week, right in front of our church, a young man was coming to get his test for COVID. We do COVID testing. And he was shot right in front of our church. He runs into the church. Some of our windows get shot out. And I'm thinking, if you don't have police, it only gets worse than that. That's bad. That's horrible. And so it will only get worse. So we need officers in our neighborhood. We need officers who care about the community. And we need them to express the law, because without law and without law and order, it's a hopeless situation. It's already chaotic, and we don't need it to get worse. We need it to get better.
What do you think of defunding the police?
I think that's a horrible idea. I think, we if anything in our neighborhood, we need more police. If I had my choice, I would have police in all the high crime areas on the corner. If I had my choice, I would have more police.
What's
because
the role of education in your neighborhood? How important is it that young people get an education?
so important. In Chicago, the dropout rate of young black males in the ninth grade is extremely high. And I think that is a correlation. It's related to a lot of the violence that we see. Even now, a lot of the carjacking that we see because so many young people are out of school. And we need kids to be able to read.
Well, wait a second. You said ninth grade. They've gotten all the way through ninth grade. They
Yeah.
must be able to read.
So that is the problem. The problem is they're getting to ninth grade and they can't read. We need to start earlier, and we need to make sure that our educational system is not failing our teenagers and children. Some people have suggested by the time a child gets into third grade in Chicago, you already know what direction that they're going. So we have to start earlier, and we have to do everything we can with our educational system to get these kids on track. But even the ones who get down the road, we need some alternative options, like trade schools. There are no trade schools in Chicago in the high school system. There used to be, there are none now. We have to have a better system that fits the children, and you know that's the reason why I'm a big school choice type of person, and I'm because I think tax dollars ought to be able to follow children so they can have the best choice possible.
Have you been working in the neighborhood to develop a community center, someplace where kids can go and study, kids can go and exercise, kids can go and have positive interactions with other young people?
Absolutely. Part of being on the roof of that motel was to buy it, tear it down so that we could build a place that would bring transformation. So we're building a community center, and I tell people, they say, what type of community center are you building? I tell them, we're trying to build a YMCA trade school on steroids. So we're trying to build a community center that has everything that we need for a community to be transformed. An economic school where they can learn entrepreneurship, trauma counseling for these kids. Can you imagine being a child in the 4th, 5th, or 6th grade and having 5, 6, 7 of your friends have been shot and killed, and no one ever gives you any counseling or deals with your trauma? So we need to do that as well. We have a culinary arts part. We have sports part. We have a trade school part of it. And so it's a community center that is actually a community center that enhances the lives of people. And that's what we're trying to build. That's what we're going to build.
How can people find out more about your efforts to build a community center?
They can find out by logging on to Project H.O.O.D, H-O-O-D, projecthood.org, or projecthood.org, or they can just call you and you'll tell them all about it.
I will tell them all about it, and I hope to visit soon.
Absolutely, you will.
In the summer. So, Pastor Brooks, I ask everybody this question, and I want to ask you.
Okay.
The question is, if loving this is wrong, I don't want to be right. And the question is, what would you replace this with?
I would say people.
If loving people is wrong, I don't want to be right.
I don't want to be right. Yeah, loving people is the way to go. I think everything that drives me, my purpose and what I feel called to do is all about loving people. And I believe that I've been so loved and given so much grace and compassion and not because I deserve it, not because I'm a great, wonderful guy, but just because people loved me in spite of me and gave me so much. I feel like I need to give that back, and I need to share with as many people as I possibly can. So people is the answer for me.
Pastor Brooks, before we close, is there anything else you want our viewers to know about?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that. I want to close and open all the time with Jesus. Jesus is the best thing that has ever happened to me. I've realized that a relationship with Jesus makes the difference in the world. And I believe in all of my heart, if it were not for him coming into my heart, giving me grace, I would not be here today. And everything that I am and everything that I hope to be, I owe it all to Jesus Christ.
Well, I want to thank you. And I also want to let you know that there are a lot of us that appreciate what you're doing this neighborhood so much, because we believe so strongly that all Americans deserve a great opportunity, and you're giving Americans that otherwise wouldn't have a great
Absolutely.
opportunity that opportunity. And you
Thank you.
bless that community, and we really appreciate you being there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I want to thank Pastor Corey Brooks for shooting straight with us, and I want to thank you for listening today. I hope this program has been informative, enlightening, and uniting. As Americans struggle with the difficult issues facing our country, we are reminded that good policy is the result of open, thoughtful discussion. God bless you, and remember to always shoot straight.